Man, sometimes I feel stealth was nerfed. I just want to be invisible enough so nobody sees me. Oh, I know. But for real now, Sub is an exquisite spec, and it's a big shame Blizzard has buried it so deep underground that not even Flame can find it if it was a bottomless pit. But you will find that it's maybe the funnest melee in the game, with the right talents, gear, corruptions, rotations, openers, and much more, of course. So hang on, strap in, cause we're going into the zone of the off meta. Speaking of the off-meta zones, check our Twitch stream at twitch.tv/Marcelian Online. We get to play a bunch of specs with you guys in raids and dungeons. There's a schedule somewhere that should fit you for at least one day out of the 5 per week we are live. Don't be a stranger now. On the first row, take Find Weakness. This lets you bypass 40% of the target's armor for 10 seconds after you Shadow Strike or Cheap Shot. This nets you around 10 to 15% extra damage overall when this is active. Managing the uptime of this and pairing it with your high damage windows can make the difference, and really outside this option there isn't much else to look on at the first row. Second row, take Night Stalker. The entire row actually focuses on stealth bonuses which you get more often with the Shadow Dance ability that treats you as if you were in stealth. This option essentially gives you the most damage output overall and synergizes very well with Find Weakness. You can essentially see a pattern where your biggest moment will be during Shadow Dance, since you get all the damage buffs and benefits of stealth. The third row brings you with energy management options, be it obvious or not. Deeper Stratagem is the default pick here for all content. 6 combo points just works well with Sub and synergizes with its mastery for extra finisher damage. If you are lower on the gear side, starting it out you might find Vigor to be a bit more appealing. It passively helps with energy management and keeps things a bit more simple. It's a nice startup but should not be your end goal. Next up we have survivability options. Cheat Death is a staple of Rogue and has been for over a decade. It works on certain boss mechanics, letting you do some one-man soak-in shenanigans, and most of the time will just save your ass from dying. To be fair, this entire row is up to your personal preference as long as you can actually make use of the talent you pick. None of them are useless, although their utility differs from content to content, and Cheat Death is just the simple option here. The level 75 tier, not for long BFA, Shadowlance is squishing your ass. As I was saying, the level 75 tier is another preferential row. Prey on the Weak will usually be the best for raids or dungeons where you want to take down individual mobs in a pack. You can pin down an ad with your kidney and your whole raid will get the damage buff against it. Works well against stunnable targets that have a high kill priority. Night Terrors is more focused towards Mythic Plus, where slowing the ads consistently lets your tank kite easier and reset certain debuff stacks like Necrotic. Shot in the Dark is useful when you can sacrifice a damage ability in Shadow Dance for the cheap shot. It games you for sure, but if your group needs the extra stun, it's definitely worth it. Like I said, everything is preferential here. The 6th row has 2 options in BFA. Envelop and Shadow would be the ideal choice in single target, mostly handy in raids. This baby gives you more Shadow Dance uptime, hence more damage windows over the course of a long fight. It also works well with the first Dance Azerite trait for single target performance, but more on that later. At the same time, Dark Shadow's design works better in AoE and dungeons mostly. That one Shadow Dance will give you 25% extra damage on top of everything else, and this can be useful with dungeon packs that need to go and need to go now. Plus in AoE you'll be using Shuriken Storm that gives you more combo points per GCD spent, hence more finishers, hence more cooldown reduction from your Deepening Shadows passive. Thing is, each of these options have interactions with their opposite content type, and nothing is ever black and white. To start things off, think of them like this, but don't corner yourself into a specific mindset. Last row sees Master of Shadows as the best single target and pretty much universal choice for all contents, dungeons included. It's not bad for AoE, so you could take it in dungeons, but secret technique is just so cool. I mean, look at this beauty. It does more AoE damage for sure and helps with packs. It takes a bit more to pull off, but can feel very rewarding. You can approach stats in two main ways. Either sim everything for min-max value, because BFA is just like that. Every stat changes the balance between all others, so you never really know what is best sometimes. But if you want to keep it simple, you can just focus on a good balance between crit, versatility, and mastery, even haste. The stats are pretty equal in value, so as long as you don't go too far one way, you should be fine. In AoE, mastery will take the lead with crit behind it and verse and haste lower down the priority list. On one hand, bosses are most crucial to kill in this game, but this patch has almost every raid fight with ads, so it's never bad to get some AoE power. To keep things consistent and simple, go for a Court of Critical Strike on your rings as enchants, while taking Deadly Lava Lazuli in your sockets. Get the Deadly Navigation and Versatile Navigation enchants on your main and offhand respectively. This will set you up pretty much for all the content, but you can always replace them with their mastery counterparts, of course. Use the Greater Flask of the Currents for your agility buff and the Potion of Unbridled Fury when fighting single target encounters, usually bosses. If you are in a 4 or more target scenario, Potion of Empowered Proximity will net you more value than Unbridled. Lastly, you are better off eating either the McDowell's Big Mac Crit Food or the Abyssal Fried Risole as the mastery counterpart. Feasts don't scale that well unless they are free. Everything scales amazingly when it's free, right? For better or worse, Subtlety has a pretty straightforward Azerite build that works good in both raids and dungeons. There are changes here and there that you can make, but those usually should be simmed since the impact will not be too major. The one must-have is the first dance trait. Ideally, one is enough because you mostly want it for the combo points. Stacking it does give you more haste, but usually that's only good if you are heavy on corruptions that proc more the more haste you have. That's a bit too specific, so one of these is enough. Next up, take Knight's Vengeance and stack it as much as you can. This is your bread and butter damage funnel into some pretty huge ass eviscerates. Other than this, one inevitability is good for single target, while the rest of the slots can be filled with generic stat traits like Heart of Darkness, Lightborn Infusion, and Clockwork Heart. Heart of Darkness clearly needs you to have 25 corruption active and drops in Nyalotha, while the other ones can be found on Titan Residue pieces, at least at a decent item level. These are pretty much the traits you are looking for. Anything else should only be picked if you are missing any of the above, or for some reason sims better. If you need to sim, raidboss.com is the best place to do it right now, and browsing their website will get you going with your own account in no time. As for essences, there are actually more choices here to play with, especially in the raids, since there are so many different fights that can benefit from different options. Mainly though, in raids you want condensed life force for single target focused boss fights. This is an easy pop and forget with a 3-minute cooldown, meaning ideally you want to use it twice per fight. Whirlwind Resonance is actually a really good major even if nobody else in your group is running it. The upside is that it fuels you with a shitload of agility on a 1-minute cooldown, making it very versatile. The downside is that it can be very clunky on fights where you have to move out of its range. The minors are fairly standard, with Conflict and Strife a staple for almost all specs in the game since the versatility buff is pretty much free. Memory of Lucid Dreams helps with those energy refunds, Breath of the Dying is a solid corruption resistance option and possibly the highest DPS minor in the game. Alternatively, Focusing Iris will give you a decent amount of haste as long as you don't have to often switch targets to lose the benefits. In dungeons and AoE scenarios like Hive Mind, Blood of the Enemy will be your best bet. This is actually the best all around. Have it all the time, major essence. Has a 1.5 minute cooldown giving you a buttload of damage for a short while. It might be annoying to get, sure, so Focusing Iris is a very solid replacement. Not much to say about Mean Beam, you pop it and watch shit die. The minors will be similar, with Conflict and Strife and Memory of Lucid Dreams being almost a staple here. Purification Protocol is actually a really good minor to have in heavy AoE fights where shit won't die in 10 seconds. Breath of the Dying is always a good damage source, especially if you still need that 10 corruption resistance. And speaking of the devil, a special mention here. Breath of the Dying Major can possibly be the most OP major you can play if you can take advantage of its cooldown reduction effect and killing blow effect. It's unmatched in the damage it can provide. It might be too difficult to play it if you are just starting out with the spec, but it's strong enough that it deserves its own section here. And now let's move to trinkets. And here we have the usual suspects. If you raided or have the chance to raid Eternal Palace, Ash Veins Razor Coral can be your best in slot easy. It's probably still the strongest crit trinket in the game, and you can still get it Titan Forged. Spyglass is another top crit contender, and you can get this from Mythic Plus if that is your jam. Same with Harlan's Loaded Dice, which procs pretty much all stats, never a bad thing for sub. Torment in a Jar is the AoE trinket you can loot from Zaneshina and Lotha, can work amazing in dungeons. Now for weapons, there's only one standout corrupted weapon that you can loot from the raid, and that is the Shard of the Black Empire. Not only is it going to be at a higher item level than other raid gear, but actually comes with the Twisted Appendage Corruption. A pretty good single target, even AoE option for most melees, at least to start off. You might end up cleansing it later on, but even if you don't, that tentacle deals stupid amount of damage, especially in PvP. And I would know, they called me Marcelian, the Tentacle Master. Damage proc corruptions will always be good, and most are hasted procs, meaning the more haste you have, the more procs you get. Twilight Devastation is already a well-known culprit, and however bad it feels to have RNG deal damage for you, you just enjoy it. Shadowlands is coming with all its non-RNG bullshit goodness, so until then, have fun with the stupid. Besides Appendage, Gushing Wound will be the most damage you can get per corruption point. It will be very easy to stack if you are lucky enough to get multiple copies of this. Other than all those, simple stat corruptions like Severe, Versatile and Masterful can never do you wrong, especially if you pair them up with their proc counterparts so they can scale even better. When you open on a boss, pre-pot and start the fight with a Shadow Strike. Use Nightblade and any essence you have except Blood of the Enemy. Pop Shadow Blaze and Symbols of Death and enter your Shadow Dance. Shadow Strike twice for the combo points, then use Eviscerate, Shadow Strike twice again, and continue with the rotation. If you are using Blood of the Enemy, it's better to use it before Symbols of Death to make the most out of its effect. As a general priority in AoE, so mostly dungeon packs, you want to have Shadow Strike at the top always. Use Nightblade on your main target. Use Symbols of Death. Shuriken Storm for combo points. Shadow Dance lower down the priority list. Secret Technique here, otherwise Eviscerate. Shuriken Storm again to build up combo points, and keep following with Eviscerates. More Shurikens, more Eviscerates. This priority is something to look out for when you are fighting more than 4 targets, and depending on the affix and pack, there will almost always be a priority target for you to focus before anything else. Outside your openers, you don't really have a set in stone priority, not like other classes anyways. Your rotation is comprised of building combo points and using the appropriate finishers. When building combo points, use Shuriken Storm for 3 or more targets. If you are in Stealth or Shadow Dance, use Shadow Strike. Shuriken Storm on 2 targets. And lastly, Backstab if none of the above apply. This should be the simple priority for the builders based on your encounter time. As for the finishers, the most important to keep up is Nightblade at 4 or more combo points, 5 with Deeper Stratagem. After Nightblade, Secret Technique is the best to cast with priority. And lastly, Eviscerate. A few notes here. Nightblade should be refreshed early if it will expire during your upcoming Symbols of Death, since you don't want to refresh it there. This also sets you up with the Knight's Vengeance buff for your symbols. With the Knight's Vengeance as right power, it is also worth it to fish for the buff by using a low combo Nightblade between 2 Shadow Dances inside Symbols of Death. If additional targets live long enough, you can multi-dot them outside of any burst windows. Secret technique is always prioritized during Symbols of Death and during Shadow Dance if you talented Dark Shadow, or on cooldown whenever you are fighting more than one target. These are a few conditions to maximize your DPS, and if you want more advanced tips and tricks, make sure to check out the Ravenhold community and website or Mistler's Wowhead Guide. Mistler is one of the top theory crafters for rogues, a subtlety main, and the man that helped us with the guide and explains a lot of rogue stuff so we can get these slick videos for your enjoyment. Thank you as always, Mistler. And thank you, dear Patreons, for all of your continuous support month by month. As you can see, we're pumping out 2 8.3 guides per week, the weekly WoW News Show on cooldown, plus the Shadowlands class overview, and we're planning a bunch of other stuff as well. So once again, all of this is made possible through your support. And hey, if you wonder how to becoming a Patreon, the link is in the description. There's also some merch links over there, pretty neat stuff. And I also want to thank you for watching up until this point, and have a great day. See you in the next one.